Bonjour everyone and welcome back to the Waves of Your Soul. I'm your humble French tarot reader Marine, and today I wanted to look at my potential mid-year favorites. So I've given myself the challenge to kind of state my top 5 decks, and that's Tarot and Oracle all together, top 5 decks, as we are almost halfway through the year. I mean, at the time of me filming this, we're at the end of May, so within a few weeks, we're halfway through the year, and I thought it could be fun to look at all the decks I have been using this year and really choose 5 that are the standout. They've made such an impact on my tarot practice. They really have blown me away in one shape or another, and I'm gonna share with you why. And also, I thought that way it could be fun to then fast forward at the end of the year, where I always do my top 10 favorite decks, see if those 5s are still a part of it, if anything has changed, anything like that. That's what we're going to be looking at today. Honestly, this was very hard. I'm a huge deck goblin. I love tarot decks, I love oracle decks. They are my life. So trying to narrow it down to 5 was very hard. I mean, hashtag first world problem, but you know what I mean. For all the decks lovers out there, the struggle is real. But it was also very interesting for me to try and do that. So I hope you'll enjoy seeing them. And if you're new here, I just want to say a huge welcome. Thank you for being here. In the description box, you're going to find all the names of the decks I am presenting today. If I remember, I will put links. I will also make sure to include some other videos of mine you may want to check out. And you'll also find all of my social media links. Right now, I'm currently mostly hanging out on Instagram and on YouTube. If you want to come and join, I would love to have you. So without further ado, let's look at my top 5 mid-year favorites. Let's get into it. Whilst I have chosen a top 5 for, like I was saying right now, which is we're at the end of May, almost at the halfway point through the year, I did have 3 honorable mentions that I wanted to still share with you today, because again, I thought it could be fun to see, are those going to be part of my top 10 decks of the end of the year? Are they not going to be part of it? Are they going to be replaced? Maybe even my top 5 will have changed. Of course, there's gonna be plenty more months until the end of the year for me to be using tarot and oracle decks. So my ranking might change, but I still did have 3 today honorable mentions, which are decks that I really, really love and enjoy, but they haven't quite gotten to the state of wow, top 5 yet. But I totally see that with time, this might happen, and so that's why I wouldn't be surprised if they appear in my top 10 at the end of the year, but again, we shall see, right? Time will tell. So my first honorable mention is actually the newest deck out of all of these I'm sharing today, and that's why I didn't feel comfortable putting it in my top 5 straight away, but I've had such a huge crush on this deck, and I'm having such a big love story with it right now, that I just had to present it as honorable mention, and that is the Mythos Tarot by Asphodelon, I believe. Yeah, so the artist is Asphodelon. Again, all the links, all the names, everything is in the description box. If you're ever like, what the hell is this French froggy person saying, and you don't understand or whatever, it's in the description box. I'm saying this again because I've had some questions lately of where is the deck? Send me the link, blah blah blah. And I'm like, girl, you just need to open the description box and read it. Everything is here. Okay, little disclaimer out. So, the Mythos Tarot, this is an indie deck. It was a Kickstarter, I believe, which I missed. I didn't even know it existed. And then I saw that Nicolas from the Salon des Arcanes, which is a tarot shop based in France, I saw that he was stocking it. And when I started to see pictures of this deck, I was like, oh my goodness, I need this in my life immediately. So here are the backs. Pomegranate, because this is a Greek mythology deck inspired by Greek mythology, but specifically Persephone's journey to the underworld, the story between Persephone and Hades. And well, as some of you may know if you are recurrent viewers of my channel, I am a huge mythology fan, and specifically Egyptian and Greek. They're my 2 favorites, although I really enjoy also learning more about Japanese mythology, Celtic mythology. My first love is mythology. And I've been on the hunt for the perfect Greek mythology tarot deck for well, years. I mean, I have quite a few great Greek mythology oracle decks that I love, but a tarot deck that actually matched my vision, that I enjoyed the artwork, where I could agree with the choices between the deities or the characters and the tarot archetypes, I could not find. That is until this deck. And this deck and I have had such like big love story at this moment of me filming, like months of May. I'm completely obsessed, and so that's why I wanted to give it an honorable mention. It's very new, like I've only had it for a few weeks, so I don't feel again super comfortable putting it in my top 5, but absolutely an honorable mention, because this is very likely that it will end up in my top 10. So in love with it. So the artwork, first of all, is absolutely gorgeous, and the actual like depictions in terms of the choices between the Greek mythology deities or figures with the archetypes, they make sense. Like for example, 9 of Cups, we have Circe, which I love. For the 2 of Wands, we have the story of the Minotaur. For the 10 of Wands, we have Atlas carrying the weight of the world. Perfect. The King of Swords is Odysseus. I think great choice, right? He's cunning, he's smart, he's intelligent. A couple of cards I was like, I don't know, but honestly most of them is just so interesting and just on point. The Fool is Persephone or Cora, about to discover a little flower, and just before she like falls in or is captured by Hades to go into the underground, so this is her journey. The Moon is Artemis, of course. I think it's stunning. It was hand painted, I believe. It took the artist like 4 or 5 years, I think, from what I saw on their Instagram, and I mean you can tell this is a labor of love. It reads like a dream. I love this 5 of Pentacles with Demeter, who lost her daughter and who is like, you know, going into winter now because she can't find Persephone anywhere because Persephone has been taken to the underworld. We have Midas for the 4 of Coins, obviously. Just this is so good. So I know I'm probably at this moment talking about it a lot on my Instagram and on my channel. I mean, this is definitely gonna appear in the monthly favorite, and I have very strong suspicion that it might also appear in my top 10 favorites of the year. But because it's so recent, I didn't feel like it was top 5 right now, but definitely an honorable mention. My next honorable mention is potentially like my newest favorite RWS, and that is the Moon Baby Tarot. And honestly, the reason why this is not in my top 5 deck of the year, because it very well could be, is because I felt a little bit like I was getting robbed if I took one spot of my top 5 for an RWS. Because I'm always using RWS, and I was like, if I put this in the top 5, then I've only got like another 4 spots, and there's amazing decks out there that I want to include in my top 5. So this is maybe cheating, but I feel like I'm always reading with an RWS, whether it's a centenary edition, whether it's the regular one. Now it's definitely this one, and so it kind of like doesn't really count. It's like someone who loves Toss, and they're always going to be in their top 5 using Toss, right? And so after a while it gets redundant. Every top 5, oh yeah, there's going to be a Toth deck, or there's going to be a Tarot de Marseille deck. Like, this is me with RWS. You know there's always going to be an RWS within reach to me, and at this moment in time the Moon Baby Tarot is my favorite RWS. So this is an indie deck by Brent Balazzo, but it's actually a re-edition of the Hoi Polloi, which was an RWS that came out in the 70s. It's the RWS, but stepping into those 70s. I love the colors. I love those avocado green edges. The font is super fun. Makes me feel like I'm, you know, in some kind of like groovy time. And I don't know. I wasn't born in the 70s, but I can imagine it probably was a fun time to be reading tarot. It probably was very like hidden, the tarot world, but I bet the people who were reading tarot were having a great time. So this deck just is fun. It reads like a dream. I mean, it's RWS, so you know it's gonna be a sharpshooter, but on top of that, the fact that there's a bit less on the card, it actually makes it even more of a great one to narrow things down. Like, this is very much a sharpshooter for me. And when I want to go to the key core matter of the issue, this is it. I need only like 3 cards and bam, wham, thank you ma'am, I know exactly what is going on. Love those backs. I love the whole color, like pinks and turquoise and greens. I love this whole color combo. So yeah, I mean, I had to have a RWS in my top decks, and currently this is my favorite one. So honorable mention for the Moon Baby Tarot. Look at those edges. I mean, come on, just pure joy. My last honorable mention before we actually get into the top 5 and we get into the key of the matter. Last honorable mention, which again I didn't feel like it was quite at top 5 level yet, but that I definitely can see this being part of my top 10 at the end of this year, is the Tarot Landscape. This is a mass market deck by Francesca Matteoni and Yoshi Mary, and wow, this is really great, and potentially at this moment in time of me filming, which is like I said end of May, potentially best mass market deck for me so far that I've used this year. Definitely amazing guidebook, really well thought out, beautiful imagery, really great deck. Particularly the guidebook has wowed me. The way it's written, it's profound, it's deep, it's healing. Again, one of the best guidebooks I've read this year. Indie and mass market all together, tarot and oracle all together. Just the way it's written, very, very profound, very healing. And this is, as the name suggests, a tarot landscape, so it's based in nature. Here are the backs, by the way. The only reason why this is not in the top 5 is because I'm still getting to know it at this moment in time. Like I've done definitely quite a few readings with this. I've read with it for myself. I've even used it on the channel for a monthly reading. I can't even remember. Was it May or was it April? I can't remember. But this has so much to unpack, like in terms of not just the choices of the animals, but the choices of the landscape, the guidebook. It's not a deck that screams loudly your messages, right? Like if I'm using the Moon Baby Tarot, this RWS Tarot, I know straight away what I'm getting. It's like I pull the cards and I get the message. With this, it's like I need to sit down and take some time to hear what it has to say. I'm gonna potentially have to meditate on the cards. I'm gonna have to do a little bit of journaling maybe. And so I feel like this is one of those that you need to spend time with. It's like a nice tea. Some of them, they need to infuse longer to get the full taste, because otherwise you put the tea bag in it, in the hot water, and you take a sip straight away, and the first thing is like, it just tastes like murky hot water. But if you wait 3-4 minutes for the tea to really infuse, you're gonna get the full body, the full flavors, the whole like complex flavors, and it's gonna taste so much better. This is kind of that, I think. Like, this is my metaphor with this deck. It's a deck that I know is going to take a while to get to know, that I know it's still revealing its secrets to me. It hasn't quite opened up, and I still need to get to know it. That's why it's an honorable mention and not part of the top 5, but in terms of mass market decks that I've tried this year, this is definitely a huge standout. If you have any doubt about this deck, I would say check it out, go for it. Last time I checked, it was fairly affordable. Feels like a High Priestess, this deck, if I was to link it to a major arcana. So it doesn't shout, it whispers, and so you need to take your time to really hear what it has to tell you. But this King of Wands is everything. Just so beautiful. So that is my last honorable mention. That didn't quite make the top 5, but we're very close. Now let's get into the actual top 5. Let's get into it. Now you will notice that the majority of my top 5, or even of the decks I'm sharing with you today, are tarot decks, because I realized that in 2024 so far, I've not received a lot of new oracle decks. I've ordered a few mass market ones, but things are so difficult right now for me to get my hands on mass market wise where I live. It's actually so much easier for me to get indie decks than mass market decks, because where I live we don't have Amazon, we don't have all the other like ways that you guys shop for decks probably. So I've done an order of mass market oracle, but I've not received it yet. So maybe at the end of the year I'll have more oracle decks to talk about. Most of the oracle decks I've been using this year are decks I already had, and I've done quite a few oracle decks video recently about the oracles I've been enjoying, and honestly most of them are decks I've had a few years. The one oracle deck that I got this year, that is in my mid-year top 5 tarot and oracle decks, and that I feel quite confident will still appear in my top 10 decks of the end of this year is the Iris Oracle. Oh my god, you guys, you've been hearing me blab on about this deck for pretty much every video I've done recently. What can I say? I'm not even sorry. This is just everything. So this is an indie deck. It is by Spirit Speak, and this is a deck that had been on my wish list for 4 years, I think, at least 2020, maybe even 2019, whenever this came out, I can't remember. I just could never find a way that shipped it to me. So it was always a deck that I was looking at from afar, that I knew I would very much love, but that I could never get my hands on it. And then finally this year I was able to order it through my lovely friend's shop, Cassandra from A Raffle in Time. I leave the link to her shop down below. If you're based in America, then you will probably know her, but she ships worldwide, which I'm so grateful for, and she stocks some amazing indie deck, amongst them some of the Spirit Speak deck. So I was able to get the Iris Oracle thanks to her. So if you're watching, Cassandra, I love this so much, and I'm sending you a big hug. But the Iris Oracle, it's just, I mean, how do I even describe what this deck does to me? This is a deck, like I said, I've been lusting after for years, and sometimes when that happens and I finally get my hands on it, disappointment can happen because I've made the deck so much of a huge thing in my head that it doesn't quite sometimes match my expectations. That did not happen with this deck at all. It exceeded my hugely high expectation, if that was possible, and I am completely blown away by this. So this is definitely an oracle deck that I would say is more tailored towards healing, towards looking within, looking even maybe really good for shadow work in terms of looking at what lurks in the shadows, and not just the bad stuff, right? Because in the shadows is also gold nuggets. This is very good at telling you what you're not seeing within you, like murky stuff, but also the golden nuggets. It helps me to look at my blind spots, which we all have, right? Especially when we're reading for ourselves. It can be hard when you're reading for yourself, and especially you're doing healing work, emotional work, all of that, personal development. It can be hard to be unbiased. We can't. We're reading about ourselves. So we have a lot of blind spots when we're doing this type of work. Introspection and looking at our wounds, or looking at what's blocking us, all of that stuff. This helps me to look at my blind spot. It acts like a rear view mirror. I can look at it and be checking what's going on behind me and be like, oh, that's what's happening. Okay, that's why I'm triggered, or that's why I'm having a bad time, or that's why this person is annoying me, or that's why I'm not able to overcome this situation, or that's why I'm feeling scared about this particular thing. And again, it doesn't have to be something dark and scary. It doesn't have to be a bad thing. Oftentimes this helps me to see the golden nuggets that are hiding in the shadow, but it just really, the best way I can describe it is that this helps me to see my blind spots. It's like a rear view mirror. And I just love the artwork. I love the hand-drawn feel to it. I love the key phrases. I think they're so profound, so unique. It's not your stereotypical oracle decks at all. This goes a little bit deeper. It's definitely a bit quirkier. The guidebook, the way it's written, is very deep, emotional, healing, and it just meets you where you are. So this is a very special deck. I mean, it's very popular in the community in terms of oracle decks that have depth, that will really hold your hand but also help you to do the work. This is very popular, and it's the hype is real. This is very special. For me, it's on the same kind of level as the Poesis Oracle or the Reclaim, those oracle decks that have a lot of depth. Even the Lantern Oracle, those are all for me oracle decks that help me to look within. I'm doing shadow work or anything like that, that are great friends. And on top of that, I think it's super cute because I love this hand-drawn artwork, so it feels like a good friend. It's gonna be very honest with you, but it's gonna tell you exactly what you need. Love this one. Stay back. I would love to know in the comments if you guys have this one, if you enjoy it. Is there any other Iris Oracle fans out there? Let me know, let's chat. I forgot to tell you that there's no order, there's no ranking. It's a top 5, they're all equal. Choosing only 5 was hard enough, so I didn't want to put myself through having to rank them from 5 to 1. But I will probably do that at the end of the year for my top 10, because I did that last year and honestly it was very hard, but it was also very fun. So, you know, I'm a glutton for punishment, but not that much. At this point, halfway through the year, we're still taking things easy. So these are all equal within the top 5. They're all for me at the same level. The next one in this top 5 category halfway through the year is the Hyde Tarot by Dan Francis. And this is an indie tarot deck, but the way I use it is almost like a tarot oracle. So for me, it's kind of a hybrid. So originally, this was printed in 2019. I believe Dan is based in the UK. And honestly, in terms of indie decks, if I remember correctly, I mean, the prices might have changed, but in my memory, it was 30 or 40 pounds, not more than that, which for an indie deck these days is very, it's very reasonable, I think. We love to see it when the prices are still within reasonable lands, especially for indie, which we know is like directly sold by the creator. So 2-piece box. It didn't come with a guidebook, but PDF guidebook exists because I need to thank my friend Moira for sending this to me. Thank you so much, darling, if you're watching, because thanks to you, I'm able to like read the PDF, and I've been really connecting with this deck a lot deeper. So if you're watching, I'm just sending you a huge hugs and thanking you so much for sending the PDF to me. Here are the backs of the deck. I really like them. They're simple, but just nice. I think it's nice. And it's Silver Edge. This is a tarot deck, but for me it's almost like a tarot oracle, a hybrid, because the way that it's set up is that you will see for each of the cards you have the title. So here we have the Four of Swords, for example, but you also have the name of what is depicted, and oftentimes it really doesn't have anything to do with the RWS or Tarot de Marseille or TOS. This is its own world, right? So you'd have one image, the name of what's depicted, and the corresponding, according to the artist, tarot archetypes. And so this is a very special deck because it kind of stands its own lane. It doesn't really follow traditional interpretation, doesn't really follow, like I was saying, traditional decks like the RWS or TOS or anything like that. This is its own creation, its own world, and it feels very profound, very deep. And it's almost like inviting you to take a walk into the psyche of the artist, because these are the artist's own interpretation of what the Nine of Swords is. And this feels like flipping through a album of memories. It's like you've moved into a new house and you went into the cupboard and you found that the previous occupants have forgotten to take one of their albums, and this feels like finding someone's photo album of all their most cherished memories. Sometimes you don't know what those memories are, because why is the mushroom Five of Cups, right? You don't necessarily understand the memories, but when you sit with it, when you take time, when you listen to what the cards have to say, you kind of start to connect the dots. Obviously, now that I have the PDF, it's also very helpful to read it like that, and that's also been wonderful. But even without it, it just helped me to really tune into my intuition. And it helps you to make your own association. Like, what does the goat make you feel like? Do you have a special memory with the goat? Maybe you're an Aries, so it makes you think of your sign, or maybe you're Capricorn, or maybe you grew up on a farm and you had goats when you were little, or maybe they scare the shit out of you. This is like something that's scary. Like, everyone is gonna have different association, personal memories with these particular like images, and so it feels very personal, very vulnerable and unique. And so I had to put this in my top 5 because honestly this has touched me in a way very different from the other decks. Is this a very practical deck that I could do readings for others? Right now, no, I'm gonna be honest, I wouldn't see myself doing readings for this for other people. I mean, I could potentially use this in a pick a card reading where I can like sit down, take my time, but let's say like my friends ring me and they have a question. This is not the deck I'm gonna go to because it's like peeking through the veil, right? I'm gonna need time to sit with it, I'm gonna need time to meditate on it. And a lot of the times, the readings I get from this deck, I can't even put them into words. It's like more like feelings or images that I get, or sensations. So again, this feels very high priestess, in the sense of sometimes you can't even put words on it, it's just a knowing, and it's very special. I believe that I read on the artist website that when he created it, I think he was going through grief, and you feel that depth of emotion in here. I think it's this kind of decks that you have to take your time with, helps you look within. It's a very special creation. It definitely doesn't match any kind of other decks I have, and God knows I have a lot of decks, you know that by now. It's not quite an oracle for me, it's not quite a tarot for me, it's kind of both. And yeah, so the High Tarot, it's very special, it's very profound, and it has a unique lane. Like, it's not a deck I definitely see myself reading for asking random questions, but when I want to reconnect to the magic of tarot, specifically when I want to reconnect with the idea of tarot being a plug that helps me to tune into the universe, tune into something larger than me, even if sometimes I don't understand what that's telling me, this does it. Like, this is tarot, the magic of tarot, not tarot for predicting, not tarot for introspection. This is like tarot to speak to source, and sometimes source is gonna tell you stuff and you don't understand it, but you're still in tune with something larger than you. Hopefully that makes sense. You don't think I'm completely mad. For those of you who have the High Tarot, let me know in the comments. Let me know if you have a similar experience with it, or maybe for you it's completely different. I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments. Let's move on to the next deck on my top 5. Oh my god, you guys. this had to be in my top 5 because it's so cute. It makes me happy. Absolute top 1 good mood deck of the year so far. The Bimit Tarot. Oh my god. Big Mice Tarot by Owl and Ezd. This is an indie deck again. Yeah, I think in my top 5 I only have indie decks. Because I told you right now, it's super hard for me to get mass market decks shipped to Reunion. Ever since Book Depository closed down, I can't get really my hands on English mass market decks. This is how it is right now. But I think by the end of the year, because I've got a couple of mass market orders coming, you'll see more mass market options on my channel. But for now, let's talk about the Bimit Tarot. So I don't actually know if this is currently in print or not. What I've noticed is that it comes in and out. And so you go on, when last time I checked, when you went on the website, it was open for pre-orders, and you just had to put your email and they would alert you when this would come back. And it's what I did for mine. Like, at the end of last year, I put my email for pre-order, and then they were like, hey, we've got decks again. So I ordered it. And they seem to be doing that quite regularly. Hopefully that's still happening and you can get your hands on it. But here is how it comes. It comes with a little guidebook, and I know that a larger book exists that goes deeper into the lore of the deck and everything, because this is truly a very special deck in terms of world building. So here are the decks, and already you can tell from the name, Big Mice Tarot, this is all gonna be about cute as mice. This is a great deck when it comes to world building, because they've constructed this whole fantasy world for those little creatures to live in. Even in the little guidebook, you are explained the different places, the different towns, and what those towns specialize in. And then when you read even in the small guidebooks again, you get names, every single card, who those little characters presented are, and a little bit about their story. But I know also that a larger guidebook exists. When I ordered this deck, it was just a little bit too much for me to ship the deck and the book, so I didn't pick up the book at the time. I'm still very, very tempted to pick it up if I get a chance, because I think the larger guidebooks goes into even more details as to the world that was built, the characters and all of that, you know. But even if you just get the tarot deck like I did, this is so special, and it had to be in my top 5 because, one, I mean, come on, this is adorable. And I don't even like mice. Like, I think a mouse is cute, but they're not even my favorite kind of animals. And yet, the way that this is represented here, my inner child is screaming every time I use this. It just reminds me of those books I would read when I was a child. It's giving very that. But it's not just cute, it's actually very deep, this deck, in the sense of, because there's such a world building behind it, because you get to introduce to those characters, and because you see where they come from, how they interact. Some of them are friends, some of them are lovers, and also you see how those little mice behave in like a world that's determined to hurt them. In the world that they've built, they have to cohabit with birds and foxes and all sorts of predators that are out there to kill them. And how have those little mice tried to evolve and adapt to survive in a world that's determined to hurt them? So this is also a deck all about strength. If I had to link this deck to a major arcana, and I think I've done that for all the other ones, yeah. If I had to link this to a major arcana, this would be strength. Because even though those little beings are very small, you'll see in a lot of the cards their resilience, their strength, their ability to stand up to challenges, their determination, their fierceness, their sense of adventure. And this deck, every time I use it, it gives me strength. It's like, if this little mice can do it, if it can stand up against a big scary fox, if it can go and explore the world, if it can discover magic or whatever it is that's going on here, then I can face whatever challenges I'm facing too. So this is truly the kind of deck that will not only make me tune into my inner child, but also help me to remember I am more capable than I think I am. This one really gives me strength. I mean, look, strength. So this is very special. You can get this deck. I have the larger version, so they call it the Big Mice Tarot. Can you see that? It's regular tarot size because I prefer that anyway, but you can get the Mimit Tarot, Mini Mice Tarot, which is more pocket size. Again, I don't know if this is currently in print, not in print, pre-orders opened or not, so I'll leave the link to the website down below and you guys can check it out. I would absolutely die if they made an oracle deck for this. I really hope we see more from these creators, because this is just beautiful. It's intelligent, it's whimsical, it's creative, and I'm very impressed. I've had such a good time reading with this deck that yeah, just I really adore this one. So this is a no-brainer. This is my top 1 good mood deck of 2024. At the moment of me filming, it's not been matched in terms of the fact that every time I read with this, it makes me smile, makes me happy, gives me joy. We've got 2 more decks to talk about. Let's mention, of course, this is gonna be, I think, a favorite for a lot of you guys. I'm just very late to the trend. Is that how you say it in English? Very late to the party. This is the Gentle Tarot by Mary in the Sky. This is a huge favorite deck in the community. So many people adore this deck, so many people love it. I have the pocket edition, which is on linen cardstock, which is really nice, and this has meant that it's been super portable, and I've been literally taking this deck everywhere with me, which is potentially also why it helped to me to connect with it so much, because it's been my go-to deck to take everywhere. Like I said, this is a very popular deck in the community. I mean, a lot of people love the Gentle Tarot, and every time it was shown, it was always a deck I thought was very beautiful, but because so many people loved it, here are the backs, by the way. This is an indie deck. Sorry, I'm being a bit all over the place. It's an indie deck. I bought mine from Refall in Time, from my lovely Cassandra, but you can get this directly from the artist. A few different indie shops stock it, and I believe at the time of me filming this, there's gonna be a new Kickstarter from this creator with her new oracle deck, which I'm very excited to see. So this is a very popular deck in the community, and it was everywhere about 2 years ago, whenever it came out, like a year or 2 ago. Everyone was sharing this on their channel, and for me, whilst I was always like, wow, this is super beautiful, it was almost like oversaturating because so many people loved it. And I have the bad habit of when everyone else is talking about a deck, sometimes that makes me want to run in another direction, which, is my own stupidity, and I very much am able to admit it. I was always like, wow, this is really pretty, but I'm kind of over it because I'm seeing it everywhere. It felt like I almost owned it at this point, even though I didn't. And yet it was always in the back of my hands like, wow, I mean, this is really kind of your vibe though. I mean, the gentle tarot, it's all about healing, it's all about nature, like this is everything you love, Marine. Like maybe you need to just get a grip. So when earlier this year I was doing a little birthday order from Cassandra's shop, a fall in time, and I saw that she was stocking this, I was like, well, you know what, let me just finally give it a shot. Like it's been long enough now from me seeing it everywhere on every channel and stuff that I think I'm not so much like oversaturated with it, and I would actually be in a better mindset to give this a chance. And oh my god, am I glad I did, because this is truly, I mean, it's very special. And again, the reason why so many people love it is because it's great. And so I was just being stupid and I was just being a dumb clown. And we know that's me. I can be like that. Super glad I finally have this in my hands. I'm super glad I gave this a chance, because this is really a special deck. It feels very healing. It feels very gentle. It feels like a hug. And yet it won't shy away from looking at the stuff that makes you feel, you know, a little bit fragile and raw. I love the fact that we have a lot of animals in this deck, and yet that they're still humans being depicted. I mean, I believe Mary is based in Alaska, and you can see the influence of nature and all that natural landscape in her work. This Five of Stone, my god, this is one of those cards that just completely made me cry the first time I flipped through the deck. This deck has definitely made me cry a few times reading for myself. And what really surprised me is I was very much convinced from, you know, watching people's videos and stuff and seeing it a lot, that this would be more of a deck for personal healing, personal development, those kind of like hug decks vibe. And yet I found that by chance, because I've been carrying it everywhere and ending up doing readings for people with it about lots of random subjects, that this is actually a great reader for everything. Like I've done career reading with this, which I would have never thought this would be great for a career, you know. I would be like, oh no, it's more for healing and stuff. No, it was really good because it brought my career reading I was doing for this person, it brought a healing, gentle vibe to that reading. I've done like relationship reading with this, and again, it brought a healing, gentle vibe to that particular type of reading. So it's not just for self-care, self-love, self-empowerment. This can do it all. It's just that whatever you read for, even if you're doing a month ahead, it will just bring that gentle healing energy to your month ahead, which is very, very special. So the fact that it was so small, I ended up using this a ton in the last few months. I'm still struggling a little bit sometimes with the renaming of the court cards. That's just me though. I think my brain is not wired for renamings. Like I'm very traditional, old school in that way. I mean, my birth card is a Hierophant, so I guess part of me is a bit like, sometimes I like tradition. I mean, I don't really, but in terms of court cards, I do. Like I like pages, knights, queens, and kings. That's how I learned tarot. That's how it makes sense to me. Every time a deck tried to rename the court cards, always struggle. And this one, even though I've used it a lot, I still sometimes have to refer to the little cards, because there's no guidebooks, but you do get little cards with like all the keywords and key phrases and stuff. Still have to refer to it to be like, okay, is Harvest the Knight, Queen or King? That still is a brain fuck for me. With the pocket edition, you don't get a guidebook, but you do get those little cards with little sentences on it, and you can get a PDF guidebook, which is so great as well. I've got it on my phone and I love reading from it. Feels like giving yourself a nice hug from Mother Earth to yourself. And if this was a major arcana, this would be the Empress. This is an Empress deck, absolutely. Just gonna give you that nurturing, kind, loving energy where whatever you read for, it's gonna be there for you. Okay, my last one is actually the deck I've had the longest, because I got this right at the beginning of 2024, or maybe right at the end of 2023, but like I started using it in literally very early January, and it's the Dreams Within Dreams Tarot by Jade Trin. This again is an indie deck. I found mine on Etsy. I will leave the link to the Etsy shop below if it's still in print. I hope it is, because this is so beautiful. This is an indie deck. This is definitely on the pricier side compared to all the other ones I've shared with you today. Like the Gentle Tarot Pocket Edition, I think it was $35. The high tarot, I think it was 30 or 40 pounds. The Mimit, I can't remember, but it was in euros. I remember that because I think the creators are in Europe, but this one more expensive indie prices, so just to let you know. So it comes with a little guidebook, and it does have a couple of extra cards which I don't really use, but the guidebook is good, you know. You get, for the majors, you get a bigger rendition, you get a little text, and then keywords and reverse keywords, and then for the minors, you get a little bit less, but you still get, you know, a few sentences, keywords, and reversal. It's simple, straight to the point. Honestly, I've read the guidebook once. It's good, but I don't really need to refer to it anymore because this is very clear reader for me. Here are the backs, and as you can see, the sides are gold. When I got this at the end of last year, you could choose if you wanted the gold one with gold holo or if you wanted silver with silver holo. I don't know if that's still the case or not. The Dreams Within Dreams tarot is a very much fantasy inspired tarot deck that has completely transported me ever since the beginning of the year. There's something very fantasy book about this, which really appeals to me because if you're new to my channel, like my favorite kind of books to read are fantasy books. My favorite kind of movies to watch are fantasy movies and video games and all of that. This is very my world. Of course, this is Katara, right? This is Katara, the waterbender. Like, she's surrounded by water. We have her cute little, like, ear thing and her necklace. When I realized that made me so happy because I've just finished watching the anime. I also just finished watching the Netflix adaptation of the TV show and I loved it. So I'm very happy that there's a little avatar like nudge in this. There's different artists who participated in this deck. You're gonna see, like, for example, if I go back to the strengths card we just passed, where is it? Where are you? Between this and this, different vibes, right? And normally that's something that I don't love. Like, I like consistency in my deck, and there are very few tarot decks that have different artists that I enjoy. And yet this is definitely an exception. Between this and the Vox Arcana, these are the two exceptions. Because it still feels consistent and it still feels like everything belongs in the same world. So for that reason, it's definitely doesn't get into the way of consistency or anything. Everything looks like it belongs in the same fantasy magical world. This reminds me of Ada Eggfort from Dimension 20 Fantasy High. If you are fans of that, I always see Ada when I see this. He invites you to step into a world of magic, of fairies, of dragons, of magical creatures, and I'm here for all of that. It's beautiful. I mean, the production quality is stunning. The cardstock is lovely. It's matte. It shuffles like a dream. Feels very good to use, but it also feels very, magical. It speaks to my fantasy lover, honestly. And the star card has whales, humpback whales specifically, which are my favorite animals. So of course, you know, I'm here for it. Would this be a deck I take to go places? No, it feels too special. It feels like it needs to be here with me. I read it at home. I make it a very sacred ritual moment. I don't know. It's like, I can't explain why I fell in love so hard with this one, but I did. It gave me some very, very great, profound readings earlier this year, and it's like one I still go back to. And I think it's this fantasy feel, like it's just, this world is the kind of world I love to escape into, so it's just very part of my identity. I definitely identify as a fantasy nerd, so this speaks to me in many different ways. This Hermit card is everything. This one, there's literally, I can't even tell you why I love it so much. I think it's more of a personal preference in terms of what resonates with me, what speaks to my soul. I mean, look at its Knight of Swords. Like, come on. Just, no words. No crumbs left by this deck. Absolutely none. Three of Wands. Come on. Just... And this Three of Coins. Okay, I'll stop here, but every card is stunning, masterpiece, and it reads again so well. So this is definitely in my top 5, and I would say out of all of them, this is probably the most personal one, like in the sense of like, I can't even tell you why I love it so much. It's just a personal connection. With the other ones, it's like, okay, I love the world building. Okay, I can see it's a great reader, or okay, it's actually really good for shadow work or whatever. But with this, honestly, I just love it and that's it. So that's what you get. Okay, my friends, so these are my halfway through the year top 5 decks, Tarot and Oracle all together, with a couple of honorable mentions. I hope you enjoyed seeing them. I hope that it was fun. I hope it was enjoyable anyway, and I can't wait for us to get to the end of the year where I do my top 10, because it's gonna be super fun to see if these decks are part of it. How do they rank? Maybe they won't even be there, or maybe they have like secured their place. Which new decks are gonna be also joining? I think it'll be fun to have this kind of like comparison, right? Now I wanna ask, what are your top decks of 2024 so far? You can give me one, you can give me 5, it doesn't matter. But if you have to choose like a few decks, let's say 5 max, that are at this point in the year your faves, the top 5 for 2024. Let me know in the comments, because I love to chat with you and it's always a pleasure to read your comments. So until my next video, I just want to say thank you so much for being here. I appreciate you so much. And until my next one, I'm sending you so much good vibes, and keep navigating the waves of your soul. Bye!